Hello guys, so this is the next tutorial from the previous version about the domain-driven design, Inversify React, and those kind of things. So in this one, I'm finally starting to do something cool to see that how domain-driven design is really help. Okay, so in this case, the thing that I'm gonna demonstrate is uh, two version of the API. So for example, you can do the switching between the version 1 and version 2. So in this one, I will do only the infrastructure. In a next tutorial, I haven't write it yet, but I'm thinking in the next tutorial after that, I let for example, the DevOps engineer to be able to switch between the version 1 and version 2 of API, okay, on the GitHub actions, okay. It means that I write a code that I same API, but you can access from version 1 and version 2. Okay, so the infrastructure there. After that, in the next tutorial, I will develop a GitHub action. Okay, that one also I'm thinking to generate it only with the ChatGPT, so I'm not gonna explain the code much. But for example, I will generate the thing on the ChatGPT. After that, I show you guys. After that, I will show you that, for example, maybe in a GitHub how you just can change the process environment, and for example after that you can switch from the version 1 to version 2 or something like that. Okay, so it would be something not very sophisticated. The next tutorial won't be something like very deep into the domain driven design, but it is I'm trying to putting everything together to see that how the entire process look like. And when you don't see the end application, you can never get it why domain driven design still makes sense in the front end engineering, because everybody do it in the backend, right? But in the front end, still you can do. Okay, so you will become more flexible. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. So the tutorial would be again this one. I did another version of the yeah. So this one is version 2. Tony, I'm debugging my blog. Okay, so this one it would be published by the time that you guys see this video. Okay, so in then you can follow along with this Medium blog. Okay, so I explain everything very well over there. And I just try to master my copy pasting skill today in front of you guys. Hopefully, it won't be like a previous tutorial that I have lots of bugs in my blog and I was debugging inside the blog rather than the VS Code. So let's see how it goes. So okay, so in this one, I'm creating two services. One of them is a iQueryAPI and another one is a iPublishAPI. Okay, so let's create them. Okay, so and this one also we go the drill again, same. Okay, so we start from the core. It means that we create the interfaces, all the abstracting. After that, we create the implementation, and then on the application side, on the inversify.config.js, we will wire everything up. Okay, the inversify config.js normally we call it main. Okay, but in this one because it's a React word, those kind of things, it is a Express. Not Express. It's a TypeScript word. I will try to follow their convention. But in the real world, in my even my own application, normally I call that on main. Okay, so I don't do it separate. But never mind, it's okay. So these things it doesn't matter. Let's go. Okay, so let's follow the drill. So also I put it here, so we found that. Okay, so first we create a interface. Okay, so this interface was not there, so again we have to do it in core, exactly like the things that just now I show you guys. So we do it on core. Okay, so in the core we create a new file, iQueryAPI. The interface does not have much. Okay, so what it does is that he just get a number, and after that when he get a number, he will return you a string. Okay, so the string would be the I think later I will see the code, but I believe that I return the number. So later we see the thing. Okay, so this one it was the interface. Now we have to implement it, right? So where we have to implement it, think for a second. So okay, so you have to develop it in the services. Okay, so where is the services? Services is here. Okay, so I have to create the QueryAPI over there. This one is the QueryAPI.ts. I'm developing it under services. After that, under services, I copy paste the code, practicing my copy pasting skills. Okay, so what this code does, first of all, we do the Inversify injectable. So if you don't do the injectable, as mentioned earlier, okay, so you need this decorator. Otherwise, the dependency injection Inversify does not know how to resolve the dependencies. Okay. After that, what we do is that we are creating two implementation of the iQuery API. So previously it was only one. For example, it was only in the previous tutorial there was only one implementation, but now I'm doing two implementations so we can do the switching effect. Okay, so we can see the switching effect. So this one is a query one. This one is a query version v2. So the implementation is very simple. Okay, every time somebody asks for a get item, okay, so if it's a version 1, he will return the version 1 item, after that the ID. Okay, if it's a version 2, he will do what? He will do the thing that he returned, it would be the version 2 item.id. Okay, very simple, right? So nothing sophisticated or so, these kind of things. Okay, so this one was the version 1. I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same drill for another service. Also, this one is an iPublish service. Okay, so let's do the iPublish service. So again, at first, where I have to develop the guy, I have to develop it at core. Okay, so this one is I'm developing it at core. Okay, here. Okay, so after that, what this guy he does, he return you the message that you gave him, and beside that also he published the message. So now for this dummy application we just publish it in the console. Okay, but in a real application this could be connected to anything. Okay, could be a notification, could be whatever. For example, you can connect it to a toast or something cool. Okay, maybe in the next tutorial, for example, I connect the entire thing to the chat CN or something like that. After that, over there we do something like that. So when, for example, you publish it, he will publish it on the toast, and after that he publishes, for example, to the console. Oh, no, that is a good idea, man. So okay, so let's see the implementation for the publish API. So what you do that again, you need an injectable, so that otherwise you cannot to resolve the dependencies. After that guy, you need to get the thing from the core. Okay, it means that you are okay services. This guy is dependent to the core, so you need to go to the core and you get the stuff. So look like I don't have enough space in my computer. Hopefully nothing will crash, but if it crash, forgive me guys. Okay, so let's continue. Don't die on me, please. Don't die on me. Please don't die on me. Is my browser dead? No, not yet. Okay, please don't die on me. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so what will happen is that the publish version, so we are just implementing the interface. Okay, again, something simple. Just when you get the message, what he does is that he will, for example, what he does is that he just, for example, he just passed them, he just published the message, version 1 published, for example, using console look, and for example, that's all. Okay, and in the second one, for example, publish message also, for example, I developed the version 1 and version 2. In the version 2, for example, he do the version 2 published, and after that the message console look, after that return res and those kind of things. Okay, so it is not complicated. Beside that, okay, so normally this kind of thing you do it with the Redux. Okay, so this one is only for demonstration purpose. So for example, this kind of publication, those kind of things, definitely just I wanted to show you how you can do it in the front end side. So don't do this one in real life, use Redux. But the other one, yeah, so other one, it would be good. The iQuery, that one iQuery is still valid, is a valid thing. Or even the iPublish also, for example, this one also is still valid. For example, you could publish to a, yeah, so yeah, this one is still something okay. So okay, so this one is the biggest change that we are doing. So this one up to now it was not something new, but this one the way that we wiring up the things, this one is something totally new compared to the previous tutorial that I did for you guys. So let's go to the Inversify config.js. So you see my originally or wiring. Okay, what I mean by wiring. Last time I also mentioned to you guys, right? So that not GitHub, this one. So okay, so last time also I mentioned, okay, so always remember dependency injection is like a plate of sushi. and main file. There you normally you have a main file. In here we call it inversify.config.tx, right? I think it's, yeah, okay. Inversify config.ts, okay, is a place that you wire up the entire thing, okay. So this one also I go find out from the previous tutorial, so it make it more visualized, okay. So okay, what we do in here, okay, what the thing that we do in here is a little bit fancy, okay. So okay, compared to previously, this one is all from the previous code, so nothing new, okay. But in the new one, you see that, for example, I'm getting both of the, for example, both the all the implementation, okay. In here I'm not getting any of the interfaces, because last time also in the previous tutorial I told you that, for example, although you can, for example, get, for example, iFoo service, you see in here I get the iFoo service, and after that I say that it's a foo service, right? So in here I'm not doing that, okay. So just to show you that, for example, that thing is dummy, it doesn't have that much of impact, okay. It still is good, okay, it's because it's type safe, so he will make you sure that, for example, you don't pass the garbage to him. For example, this one is a iFoo service. For example, you pass him publish or something like that. But that thing is dummy there. Okay, so in this one, I wanted to concretely show you that, okay, that thing is it could be removed. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, and again, for example, even in the Inversify, normally in here, for example, they do, for example, type dot, for example, full or something like that. Also, I'm not doing, because this one is a simple tutorial. Maybe, but if you guys are interested, I will do it. Let me down below if you guys want to know how to do this thing properly. Okay, but okay, so what I'm doing here is something fancy. So I have a switch case. I use a process environment. Okay, so the process, why I'm using process environment, because in the next tutorial I want to put this one connected to the CI/CD, and in the CI/CD, for example, the guy, for example, change a publish API version. Okay, and after that he build the what I'm going to do exactly is this. Okay, so in the next version you do something like this. Okay, so we are going to host the application inside the GitHub pages. Okay, so all the boilerplate for setting up the GitHub actions, I will give it to you guys. So I just will share it with ChatGPT. It's very simple to do this kind of nonsense with ChatGPT. Okay, so after that, for example, we just put the GitHub action over there. Every time you push to the you push it to the repository, what will happen is that over there, what he does is that he will read the environment. Okay, if it's a version 1, based on the version 1, every time you run the action, okay, for example, he see the environment based on the version that it is over there. Okay, he get a different version of the API and he will build it. Okay, so for example, and I do, and that is the reason that I do two interfaces, because both of them, for example, they have a version 1 and version 2. So what does it mean? That in this one he can do something cool. For example, he has a version 1, he has an API version 1, and for example API version 2, for example, for publish, and he has for query, right? So for example, he can use both of them version 1, or for example one version 1, one version 2, or the other version 2, this one version 1, or both version 2. Okay, so he okay, rather than you, okay, rather than the software engineer be the one that who determine what is supposed to be built, okay, the DevOps engineer is the person that who decide that, okay, which version supposed to be in production. Do you get what I mean? This is the strength of the team. This is the whole strength of the all this domain driven design, and for example dependency injection and so on and so forth. Okay, what we are doing is we are giving that, rather than we compile a thing, okay, and we are not even compiling this is a when you connect it to CI/CD, this one, it becomes so beautiful, because when you're doing this, okay, so the DevOps engineer is a person who become in charge of what I want to be run in the production. Okay, so yeah, so this is so beautiful. So but never mind, so but this is the way that it goes. Okay, so for example, what he does is that he, for example, if for example the process environment is for example 2, he will do this. If it's not 2, he use the default version, which is a version 1. Okay, same thing also for the query API version. If it's number 2, after that he use a query API version 2. If it's not version 2, for example, he use a version 1, and we pass to him during the build. Okay, during the building, we pass to him, okay, we want version 1 or version 2 or this kind of thing. So we set all these things inside the we set all these things inside our GitHub actions. Okay, so inside our CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so everything beautiful, right? So okay, so let's go use this thing. So we want to show the guy somewhere, right? Let's go to the home page and we copy home page. So there is the home page. Later I will make the blog a little bit better because I'm still developing it. So okay, so let's check what will happen. Okay, so in here I'm using the use effect and the use state. So because we want to set the things, so because I want to show the stuff over there for we using the use state for showing the item. Okay, so we need the use state for showing the item, and we need the use effect to make sure that this our dependencies is solved before we start doing the stuff. Okay. So this is the reason that we have a user state and use effect. Okay. So we use a user injection. So this one, we use this code. So again, I mentioned that the Inversify React is the one that I'm using. So Inversify React, these guys, they are decent. Okay. So we're using their hook. So we don't develop the hook by ourselves. So this one in mind. So always we reuse. Okay. We use something rather than we maintain, let's other maintain. Okay. So we use the user injection to get our stuff. So yeah, so after that, this one we are just in here, we don't have any dependency to any guy. This one is very important. If you see here, okay, I don't have query API version 1, I don't have query API version 2, I don't have a publish API version 1, I don't have a publish API version 2. Okay, what does it mean? It means that in my, let's go to my domain driven, I think it is in here. Okay, so it means that in my application, okay, my application, okay, does not, okay, the services, the things that they are in, the things that, for example, now actually even the component, actually, if for example in this tutorial I put the component, I put it separate, but for example if it was a UI, in reality the component itself is a service, in reality is a service. But what I'm trying to say is that this component does not have any dependency to the other services. Rather than he go to, let me show you over there, maybe I can show it properly. Okay, for example, imagine I put the component inside the services. Okay, although the guy is in the layer of the services, okay, but he does not have any dependency to any other service. His dependencies is toward the core. And this is beautiful. Okay, this is so beautiful. It means that what I'm trying to say is that all his dependencies you see is to iFoo, iQuery, iPublish, those kind of things. Okay, but you don't see any implementation. Okay, so in this code, okay, up to here. Okay, so let's see. This is all my dependency come from, right? Do you see any? Do you, okay? So this one is from the React. Okay, and this one also, for example, this one is all from, for example, our libraries. Okay, but do you see any dependency to the things that I developed that they are implementation? There is no implementation. Everything is abstract. This iFoo service could be anything. This iQuery API could be anything. This iPublish could be anything. I can publish, for example, to the MQTT, or I can publish to, for example, API. I can publish to the console. I can publish to anything. Okay, the thing is totally decoupled. Although iPublish is not a very good example, but for example, imagine something like, for example, iQuery API. Okay, iQuery API, for example, good example. For example, you want to get, for example, the user identity or something like that. Okay, how, for example, exactly like, for example, you saw the OpenID, right? He abstract the thing very well, right? So for example, this iQuery, for example, can get the identity for example, from somebody that using the for example, OpenID, or for example, some other guy that, for example, he use his own customized nonsense. Okay, but the iQuery still is the same. At the end of the day, iQuery, he will return you the thing that you want, for example, the identity, but you don't know what's going on behind. So because of that, separating the dependencies is so beautiful. Okay, I don't talk too much. Okay, my mom say that the lesser you talk, the better you are. This is the reason that you are assisting. So don't talk less. So okay, so but never mind. So yeah, so when you see this one, okay, so we are using the user state. So in here we say that, okay, so we need an item. So we need in our state we need at least an item, and in set item is the one that we set the item with it. Okay, so after that we have the foo service. Okay, so the foo service, this one is from previous tutorial. You totally ignore it. It doesn't have a lot of impact. Okay? So we have a use query. So in here we say that, okay, give me the query API, okay, and the type of the query API that we get, it would be iQuery. Okay, this is very important. Although I say that, for example, when we assemble the thing in here, this thing, it doesn't matter. Or for example, if this one I put it, or you see even here but over there you have to put it because you want to access to his API. Okay, you don't put it, he will die. So definitely this one is something that this is not really optional. That one is still optional. Is not that one also not that optional. If it's in production, I will never do something like this. I see he has protection, so we still have stuff to do. But in here, this one is definitely optional. It's not optional. Okay, so yeah, okay. So you get the query API. So I'm asking you for query API. I have a type of iQuery API, and my query API would be the type of iQuery API. I would have a publish API. The type would be iPublish API. Okay. So I don't know what's implementation behind, but I will get that. Okay. So I would have a use effect. What I'm doing in this use effect is also very simple. Okay. So we just create a async arrow function, those kind of things. So what we do in this async arrow function, we just get the item, okay, just item number one over there. I think the number one, number two. I think I hard coded. I don't remember, but you just wait for this one to resolve. Okay, so you get the fetch item. After you get the fetch item, the next thing that you will do is that you use a state to set the item to fetch item. After that, we do that. The next thing that we do is that we publish a message that, okay, this one is already done. Okay, so this could be Redux, this could be anything. Okay, and this one is done. Yeah, would I say this one is done? Yes, this is done. Okay, so no, it's not done. So we have to call our async function. So after that, we call our async function. Okay, so he will do his stuff. Okay, so he will do his stuff, and when this guy is finished, in here what we do is that we just if there is an item, it means that at the beginning we said that he could be null, right? So if he is not null, we render the thing. So beautiful. Let's write it down. Yay! This one is v1, is a version of v1 and item 1. And if you go to the console, in here console, you see that v1 published, v1 item 1. Okay, so yeah, so this one is the end of the tutorial. So let's go back to it. So okay, so in this tutorial, what you learn? So in this tutorial, learn that you, for a very first time, okay, it was not a simple just DDD, I don't know, React, this kind of things, so like how everybody else they are teaching. In reality, you see a real application of how this thing could be assembled together. Okay, so this is the very first time you see that how this thing assembled, and one real case scenario that why somebody have to go through the suffering of this thing. So you give the flexibility. Okay, so next time, for example, you want to, for example, convert from the version one of, for example, one API to another version, you won't suffer. Okay, so you would say that why you have to do that? For example, why I have to? Okay, so not all the time you are developing for example, the API yourself. Okay, for example, if for example you work with, for example, YouTube. Okay, so they have a version 1 and version 2, right? For example, previously I was doing something with the MindMeister. Okay, so there was a website, and the one that always I do my I'm doing my mind maps, right? By the way, my mind maps also, please subscribe. If I have an affiliation link down there, so if you guys buy from it, they pay me. So yeah, so if for example I was using the MyMeister, so after that they have an API version 1 and they have an API version 2, and their API version 1 and API version 2, I would say that everything is completely different. Okay, so but still the functionality is the same, but the thing is totally different. Okay, but when you do something like this, okay, so now back then, for example, when for example I didn't do this kind of things. Okay, from version 1 to version 2, man, it is very difficult. You calling his APIs all over the world. Okay, even for example, you have a Redux, still you call his API all over the world. But for example, when you abstract the entire thing in some place, and after that you have something like this, okay, you can easily switch from one to another. This is the power of the thing. Okay, this is the power of the yeah. So this is the reason that I'm doing this. So never mind. So in a next tutorial, what I'm gonna do is that I will assemble the entire thing in a GitHub action. Please, if you like what you do, what I do, please like, share, subscribe. And I'm working in Upwork. I'm coding for food. I have financial difficulties. Otherwise, I won't do these videos. So yeah. So if you need a freelancer for your next project, you can let me know. Thank you.